He just come out. Everything that is chatting about you. Come on, Thailand, this is the best. Okay, this is where he's working at. Yeah, like if you go for it.
Okay.
It's level 2.
Let me do my class.
You have class.
No, it's live class.
How much you have to go? So no
I'm going live class.
It's supervisor did this for you. Oh. Best supervisor award. So this one, you don't go see him. Are you sure? Sure. Nice. I collected best girlfriend award. I don't pass boyfriend and girlfriend. Now you can talk. Now you can say something. Thank you. Everyone said that I'm lying yesterday night. Yeah, you have photo shoot so fine. Eh. Oh, except you go.
All right. Good morning, students. So today we'll be looking at, in our last class, we're looking at the software that we use for qualitative research method. So today we'll be looking at the software that are so peculiar to quantitative methods. And today we'll be looking at statistical package for social sciences, which is SPSS. And SPSS is a software that is used in analyzing quantitative data. As a researcher, when you're conducting a study and when you're gathering your data, you should be able to know the software that will be very apt for your data analysis. And basically in research, we have either you're doing a quantitative study or you're doing a qualitative study or you're doing what is called a mixed method, which is the combination of quantitative and qualitative, or you are doing what is called triangulation, which has to do with 3 methods. Our emphasis in this class is going to be on the quantitative research method. And the idea of a quantitative research method is originated from the Chicago School of Thought, which scholars at that place believe or subscribe to the idea of quantitative method. And in quantitative, for example, either you're using a survey, you're using experimental studies, or you're using what is called quantitative content analysis, you'll be using software that will give you a kind of data that can be able to summarize and put your data into numerical figure. So take, for example, if you're doing a survey and maybe you distribute your questionnaire and then you gather your data and then maybe you use Google Form, then all your data is in your email and then maybe you're going to generate it in form of Excel. So at the end of the day, it is expected that you put this data into your software, which is the SPSS, and then it can be able to generate your data. Our SPSS is a very good, package for quantitative method. Why is it good? Because as a researcher using quantitative, method, you are dealing with statistics, you're dealing with figures, and so for you to be able to quantify these figures, you need SPSS. So how SPSS help researchers and data, analysis program? SPSS is a software that is used for research scientists. It helps them to process, and have a kind of critical data in a simple, steps. And working on those, data will help you to achieve the essence of what those, data were meant for. So what are these things that SPSS will help you to do? One, we have what is called the data transformation. And this is a technique that is used to convert the format of the data. After changing the data type, you need to integrate that data in one place. And for you to be able to do that, you need SPSS software so that you can be able to manage your data. Take, for example, when you're doing a quantitative study, survey, for example, you're going to, first with a large volume of data. So for you to be able to manage that data, you need SPSS because it's going to organize your data, make it very simple in such a way that it becomes easier for you to manage and to, to work with your data. Another good thing that SPSS will help you to do is it helps you in the regression analysis, and it is used to understand the relationship between dependent and independent variables that are stored in your data file. It also explains how you are going to change the volume and how you are going to deal with your independent variables and the dependent variable. In our previous classes, we tried to explain what is a dependent variable and independent variable. And we say that a dependent variable is that variable that cannot stand on its own in a research to function very well. While the independent variable is a variable that stands on its own and it can be able to function in a research. In the case of the dependent variable, it cannot survive on its own, and that is why it needs the independent variable for it to be able to survive. Just like in English, we have dependent and independent, clauses. So a dependent clauses is a clause that cannot stand on their own to portray a kind of a grammaticality in a sentence. However, the independent one is that part of the sentence that can stand on its own and it will still make meaning. In the context of research, the dependent variables are variables that cannot survive on their own until when they are added to what? To the independent variable. This is the only way they can be able to survive. So the primary needs of regression analysis is to understand the types of relationship between different variables. Sometimes you need to make a comparative analysis or between two or more variables. And that's when you're using SPSS can be able to help you to do that. And then the third one is the ANOVA analysis, which has to, ANOVA is another good part of SPSS, which it has to do with analysis of variance. And it is a statistical approach that compare event groups or process, and it's find out the difference between them. It can also help a researcher to understand the method it's more suitable for executing a task, and by looking at the result you can also find the feasibility of the effectiveness of that particular method. So SPSS can help you to achieve this. And then moving forward, we also have MANOVA, which is also a multivariable analysis of variance, and it is very peculiar and germane in SPSS. Why is it peculiar and germane? Because it helps you, aside managing the data, aside making a kind of a comparative analysis in your study, it also helps you to make sure that it organizes your data. And the method is used to also compare data, which could be in rundown, variables whose values are unknown. So, for example, when you're using ANOVA in your study, sometimes you may not know the variables. So, ANOVA will help you in SSPS because it will help you to compare data of random variable whose variable is unknown. So ANOVA is a technique that is used to analyze different types of population and what factors can affect those choices. Then we also have another good package that SPSS can help you is the t-test, and it is used to understand the difference between two sample types and researches, which is also applied in this method. And you can find out different types of or kinds of groups when you want to use your t-test. So the t-test can also be used to understand if the product output is meaningless or is useful. So what are the layout of SPSS? As a researcher, there's a need for you to understand some of this layout in SPSS, so that when you are confronted with your data using SPSS, it becomes easy for you to understand. And what are these layout of SPSS? Number one is the data editor window. It has two views, which you can use to select from the lower left hand side of the screen. So the data view, what it normally does is that it helps you in visualizing your data. So the variable view is where you can specifically or formally create a file where you can be able to format the pre-existing file. So the data in this context can be able to help you to display the output, how it will look like. So on the file menu, you can click open and select the output and select the data from your desktop, so where you save it or where you can easily locate it. Then afterwards, you can be able to open it and open it in the SPSS package, and then it can be able to you can be able to visualize it, and then you can be able to start working on your analysis. Now, what are the SPSS menu or icon that researchers can often use in this context? The first menu you can see there is the file, and the file includes all options that are typically used for in other programs, such as you see open, save, exit, all of that. So note that those things help you so that you can be able to, when you go to file, you can be able to open your document, you can be able to save your document. Then you have edit. Edit include the typical cut, copy and paste and all of that. And if you are using your keyboard, you can just do Control C, which is cut, Control V, which is paste, and then you can be able to manage your document. Then we also have the view, and the view also allow you to select which toolbar do you want to show, and you can select from the font size or remove it. Then we also have the data, and the data allow you to see the overall option ranging from displaying data that you can be used or that it can be sorted for or it can not. Then you also have the transform, which include options that you can currently change your variables. For example, you can change continuous variable to the categories of variable. And when we talk about the continuous variable, these are variables that sometimes they changes over time. Then SPSS can also help you to do analysis, which include all form of command that is carried out statistically to analyze or to calculate your descriptive statistics. We also have graphics. It's also another beauty of it from the menu is that you can also command or create various types of graphics, including where you have to use graphics like maybe you want to use OGIF, you want to use histograms and all of that. Then it can also help you to create those maps. Then utilities, it also allows you to list file information, which you can list based on the variables you have. Then it also will have the add-on, which is a program that can also help you to add the package. We also have the window, which you can use to select and view, which it has the data editor, it has the output, the viewer, and the syntax. Then we also have help. So that is when some of those things that you are not too familiar with when using SPSS, and then you can be able to ask for help, and then the dialog box will open, and you can be able to perhaps look at those helps that requires. Then you can be able to put it there, and SPSS software can be able to help you navigate through the process. Then we also have steps for data analysis using the SPSS. Number one, you get your data into the data editor. Here you can be able to open the previous set of data file You can read the spreadsheet text file based on the data entry, which it could be directly from the data editor. Then you also select the procedure, which are from the menu to create the chart. Then the third is you select the variable that you want to use in the analysis. The variable in the data files are displayed in the dialog box for the procedure. Then you run the procedure of the data result. And there you are, your data or your quantitative data using SPSS is there. So these were some of the things as a recap what we discussed about SPSS. We will not be looking at class type today because we're going to be looking at the quantitative and the qualitative method. Having a good understanding of this method will help you to know which of the software are you using. Remember, in the quantitative and qualitative method, they are not the same. When we talk about qualitative research method, it is a kind of a research method that takes numerical values and serious statistics tool for measurement. Quantitative research method, look at it deals with numerical data, it deals with figures and all of that. So if you're doing quantitative research, you need software that can be able to handle, figures and all of that. Unlike the qualitative method, it does not involve, figures. So for the qualitative method, we have different types or typologies of qualitative method. And those type of method does not involve, statistical application. It does not involve numbers. It does not involve figures. So here you are dealing with human interpretation of issues. So what are the methods that are commonly used in the qualitative method? We have critical discourse analysis, which is CDA. We have semiotic analysis, which is SA. We have qualitative content analysis, which is QCA. Then we have text and textual analysis, which is TTA. We have in-depth interview, which is IDR. We have focus group discussion, which is FGD. We have participant observation, which is PO. And we have also a case study method, which is CSM. So these are common methods that you can use in the qualitative research method. So I'm just going to briefly list them. Then in our next class, we are going to be picking one after another. Then we comprehensively, we can be able to explain them. Then at the level of the quantitative method, and quantitative method is a research method that deals with figures. It deals with statistical application. It deals with the kind of data analysis using dealing with numbers and all. So in quantitative research approach, you are dealing with figures, you are dealing with numbers, and the emphasis was on the statistical application. So here you are not just going to base your argument within the context of human interpretation of issue, but you're using data, you're using numbers, you're using quantification. So, and that is why SPSS is very much peculiar when you come to quantitative research method. What are the methods under quantitative? We have survey method, we have content analysis, we have experimental research methods. Remember that we have two types of content analysis. Under qualitative, we also have qualitative content analysis, and under quantitative, we also have quantitative content analysis. So these are the methods under this. As I say, we are just going to briefly mention them, but in our previous classes, we are going to be picking one after the other, and then we are going to be discussing them. So in quantitative method, if you are doing a study using quantitative method, you need to have a kind of an understanding of statistical application, because it deals with numbers. And if you are the type of person that you don't like working with numbers, then you have to drop the quantitative and explore of more of qualitative, so that you can be able to maybe conduct in-depth interview, you can be able to do FGD and all. So for today, that is where we are going to draw our curtain for today's class. It's a brief class. We just try to remind you of what some of those things that we intend to do in our next class in a more detailed and format. So we stop here and then we continue next class, and we'll be picking one of these items that we establish here, and then we'll be able to discuss them comprehensively. So if you have a question, just make sure you drop it in the chat box. So later I will look at it and I will try to address it in our subsequent class. So thank you very much for being part of today's class. See you next time.